Welcome to NexGenEdu's AI Innovation Series, where we take a quick, candid look at real people and their views and the use of AI to transform higher education. No hype, just insight. Lawrence Rue brings over 30 years of experience at the intersection of technology and education. Each episode features conversations with inspiring individuals who are passionate about helping others succeed through learning. And now, your host, Lawrence Rue.
Thanks, Chris, and welcome to NexGenEdu. I'm really excited today. I have one of my favorite presidents, Dr. Michael Baston, who's currently at Tri-C. I'm going to bring him on, and we're going to get right into it. Hey, Michael, how you doing today?
Lawrence, so good to see you, my friend.
Nice seeing you too. I'd like to start off just by giving you a few seconds to talk about anything you'd like to introduce yourself a little more, or talk about the institution, give people a little perspective before we get into the questions.
Well, I'm the proud president of Cuyahoga Community College in Cleveland, Ohio. We serve about 40,000 students in a multi-campus district. We are seeking to improve the quality of the life of the citizens of our community. And this is a labor of love. I'm now entering my 5th year. Formerly, I was president of Rockland Community College for 5 years, and I also served a time at LaGuardia Community College. So City University of New York, State University of New York, and now here in the great state of Ohio in the city of Cleveland.
Oh, it's awesome. But I've enjoyed working with you, and you really enjoyed knowing you over the years. And I know a lot of people look to what you're doing, especially at Tri-C now, with all the great things y'all are up to recently. I'd like to jump right into it. From a president's chair, what are you thinking about AI right now? Like, what are your opportunities, and what are some of the risks that you're juggling?
One of the things that I've been saying clearly about AI, it's not whether AI is a problem or something that we should jump on the bandwagon with. It is a necessity. In every revolution, every intellectual revolution, there are casualties of that revolution. And quite frankly, this is a new revolution of the next wave of education and the way in which we traverse sort of the workforce. So if we don't have folks ready and prepared and able to engage in the workforce and to understand how AI is going to influence that workforce, from my perspective, we create a permanent underclass. In my community, significant amount of people still are casualties of the digital divide. They don't have access to basic broadband. So if you don't have access to basic broadband, can you imagine how much further behind you'll be if you're not really getting the kind of engagement and education with AI? So from my perspective, it's a moral imperative to ensure that we democratize opportunity and making AI an essential part of what we're doing as we move forward.
Well, I've really experienced that digital divide being in communities around the country, like through my work. How are you overcoming that? Like, what are you guys doing to help people who maybe, you wouldn't even believe it, some kids don't have cell phones nowadays. They haven't had a computer. Like, how do you bridge that gap?
We've been very fortunate with our partners in our community, with various organizations, to begin to erode and to address some of those technological barriers. And then within the academic programming, ensuring that we embed the AI literacy with across the discipline and not just as a one-off course. But also through our corporate college, we work with different organizations to actually do contract training to actually improve the literacy of AI within the workforce for many of our companies in our community. So we really take it all in strategy, and we're not just using it as a pedagogical tool to teach, but also how we retrofit efficiencies in our business. How do we think about all of the ways that you can use the kinds of new innovative technologies that move your institutions forward? So there are many uses for not only AI, but technology in general. And I think that educational institutions that are thoughtful, that are using it very strategically, will gain a competitive advantage during this time.
Well, as you get presidents are on that road, like, what do you think is very important for them to get right early?
I think understanding the readiness of your institution and to get a good landscape analysis of where you have areas that you need help. Where are the need spaces where you have to expand capacity? You know, you can't just have AI as something for the students or something for the faculty when you have the opportunity to use various technologies to improve every aspect of the operation. Well, that means you got to do a readiness assessment to see where people are on the journey. And I think that that is, something that we have been very, very focused on. We divided up the work to understand what are the technologies that have to be applied in terms of the student experience, what have to be applied during the academic journey, what has to be applied for finance and administration, for security, public safety, so thinking deeply about the multiple uses of various technology to improve the quality of our experience for our students and for our community residents, and to improve the efficiency of what we offer in our community.
That's a key word too, efficiency. Like, academics is one area, and really preparing students, but as an institution, where are you using this to make the institution more efficient and maybe even more effective is more important, right?
Well, you think about the ways in which we can look at scheduling for classes now with the new AI technology to be able to do massive large language model use cases for taking all your information and helping agentic properties to kind of help give you the best options for the way in which you choose to get educated, whether you're online, you're on site, but also cause it to fit into the life that you live. Many of my students, 75% of them are actually working and going to school part-time. And 100% of them are working. So, how do you find the appropriate ways to integrate all of the different things that you need to successfully complete our curriculum and move up? So, I think it's very important for institutions and presidents specifically to lean in and to ask the critical questions. Are we doing all that we can to ensure that we are creating extraordinary student experiences, that we are giving our faculty and staff the best support and training that we can give them? Are we making sure that we're using technology in ways that increases our ability to reallocate resources? Because we may need in the past, we might have had to use resources in this way. Now, new technological advances enable us to recapture some of those dollars, but redeploy them in ways that continue to strengthen our institution.
Does like I know you're very metrics driven and really measuring the future. Like, what are the key metrics that you think AI is helping you push forward?
Or just thinking about how we're monitoring our strategic transformation progress, how we're building in appropriate nudging features, how we're actually, using the tools to push our thinking. And not to think for us. Quite frankly, if you use, for example, any search tool and you give it bad information or a limited lens, it will give you the answer that is connected to the framing. So you really have to think deeply. It's like garbage in, garbage out. So I think that you can't turn over your responsibility to actually train your prompts and really do the engineering effectively. You can't, because only you are going to know the specifics of your context. Chat GPT is not going to know your context beyond how you describe that context to help inform the places to actually do searches. Whether you're using Claude, you're using Perplexity, there are a whole host of different resources available to help you do a better job, but it doesn't replace your thinking. It doesn't replace your intuition. It doesn't replace understanding the cultural realities of your institution. You're going to know the readiness of your institution. No GPT is going to know the readiness of your institution. So I think it's very important for presidents and others who are thinking about how they're going to engage in the space to recognize that context matters, to recognize that you are training your GPTs to make sure that you are assessing the biases that ultimately can arise, and making sure that you are engaging in the educational process of ethical use cases. All of those things are critical, because that is what's going to make your institution stronger. And it's not, we have to be careful not to presume that this is the answer to all problems. This is a tool, and it has to be used as such.
I've watched a few specials that are more on the scary side of AI. How are the companies who control this going to use it? Like what are the resources that are is it going to take to continue this to grow? Like where do you see like a little concern? And as a community college president, like how do you get involved to address those things?
Well, I think it's very important for us to recognize that the AI is nothing new.
Hmm.
I think we have this, the commercial application of it is new. But quite frankly, the internet was not new. It was the commercial application of the internet.
Yeah.
So the idea that we have to balance risk and opportunity. You know, are there nefarious actors who may seek to use the tools in terrible ways? Absolutely. But before there was the commercial use of these products, people were still using it in a nefarious way. So you cannot decide that I will just unplug from opportunity because of the potential risks. You have to build the appropriate safeguards. So as you have to make sure that you're not putting information out there that shouldn't be out there. Why would you use a tool that would actually take, for example, social security numbers, or sensitive tax information, things like that? So you just have to understand that there are some safeguards that you are responsible for taking. And I think that is, as a college president, we don't want to use things that we know are going to jeopardize sensitive personal information of people. And we have to find ways, and there are lots of different ways that we can figure out, how to code differently to get some of the descriptive data and the powerful sort of analyses that can happen through these new technologies. But you can do it, and you must do it from my perspective, in ways that protect personal information and integrity.
So if there's one thing that kind of gives you hope about the education and the future of this technology or any future technologies, like what would you say is at the heart of that hope that you have?
My hope is that we will continue to expect sort of good housekeeping seals of approvals on things. And I think that there's a reason why we have the Consumer Protection Agency in our country. There's a reason why, there are sort of warning signs on cartons of cigarettes and other things, because there is this sense that if people are not aware of the risks, then it's hard for them to take personal responsibility about those risks. So my hope is that there will be enough of the expectations of the consumer to ensure that there are protections in place, and that our leaders in our country will make sure that we have the appropriate guardrails. We're not talking about censorship, but we're talking about responsible uses of technology that actually help and not harm. And I am hopeful that even more, particularly our young people who are right now sort of beyond digital natives, they're like taking off and leading many of us. I get excited. I like to bring in interns. And part of the reason to bring in interns to have around me is because they're always going to know what's going on now, and I'm always trying to
Yeah.
catch up on what has been. And of course, we can show them from our experience, but we have to recognize that they have experience that we can learn from. So one of my interns is giving me a lot of tips. Well, Dr. Baston, have you done this? Have you tried this? Have you used this? I know I can get that PowerPoint quickly to you if you use this tool versus, just trying to like make your little boxes yourself. So all of those things are exciting, because from my perspective, it offers this technology and the technological platform offer intergenerational connections, which was not necessarily the intended use, but I think it's a positive unintended consequence. When you have, senior citizens in our Encore program here at Tri-C who are in signing up in droves for the basic generative AI courses, and they're learning from their grandchildren who are like sitting there helping them figure it out at home for the classes that they take while they're on campus. Like that ability to bridge generations with the power of curiosity and use of technology is a wonderful thing that keeps me hopeful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I tell you a quick story. My son he had this idea he was presenting to me, and I didn't understand it. First of all, there's a language gap we got to keep up with, right? But there's just also a way kids today, and I think just between generations, people talk. So he finally got a little frustrated. He goes, Chat GPT, explain to my dad what I'm trying to tell him. And he had the agent explain it to me. And I was like, oh, I get it now. That's crazy, huh?
Well, it's
But
context, and that's the key. That the one of the nice things about recognizing the technology, many people have to really see the opportunity. I know when we first started talking about the use of generative AI, and many in the academic community say, "Oh, the students they're going to cheat. Everybody's going to be cheating, and they can't really write that well, and we don't know what you know, and so on and so forth." And that was like, oh my gosh, don't let them do it. They ban it, put it in, ban it from the syllabi and all this kind of stuff. And what I reminded a lot of faculty is that the math faculty said that about the computer, about the calculator. Oh no, let them get abacus. They shouldn't be using some
yeah,
technological. They're not always gonna, when I was in law school and they said, well, you have to learn how to use the books. Absolutely. I enjoyed learning how to use the law library and the books in the library. And unfortunately, a lot of things are computerized now and people don't use it as well. But at the end of the day, you're not going to just start from book one and walk all the way through. You're going to get into a Westlaw, Lexis. You're going to put in a natural language search. You're going to get some cases to start. So the idea that all of the technology, when it starts, like, oh, that TV thing, it's not going to go anywhere. Radio's where it's at. Like, come on. So we just have to understand where we
mhm.
are in our natural curve of adoption.
Gotcha. Well, we're coming about to the end of the time. Any last words for the audience out there?
Well, it's certainly great to see you. And for those of you that are on this journey of readiness, making sure that your institution has what it needs to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow, I encourage you to do that in landscape analysis. I encourage you to see where are the pockets of folks that are doing great things in the use of technology. Where are their laggards? Where are the folks that are falling behind? How do you marry them? How do you get them together? How do you actually amplify and build momentum in your institution? We're doing that at Tri-C. We're doing it across the spectrum and across age groups. And we think that this is going to make a difference for us and can make a difference for you.
Yeah, I think just keeping the student at the center of it is a
Oh,
big piece of making sure that it aligns with what we need to do, right?
absolutely.
Well, Michael, it's always good seeing you, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple months, probably at a next conference too.
You got it, my friend. Take good care. Good to see you.
Yeah, have a good day. This rascal.
Thanks for joining us on AI Innovation, where we explore how AI is reshaping higher education with insight, integrity, and imagination. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn or YouTube for updates and future episodes. Until next time, keep learning, keep leading, and keep asking the big questions.